Having a built-up tolerance to insulin can be difficult as it makes the hormone less effective. Here to talk more about the risk and symptoms involving insulin resistance is Nurse Christina Paris from the VA. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so first off, can you tell us just a bit about what is insulin resistance?
So insulin resistance, insulin, as you said, is a hormone made by the pancreas, and it helps bring glucose, the glucose we eat, into our cells so that it can be used for energy. So what happens is when we have extra fat cells, so fat cells, we don't accumulate fat cells. I mean, we can get some, but what happens is they get bigger. And as they get bigger, they get distorted. And so that lock and key mechanism that allows the insulin to bring glucose into the cell gets distorted, so it won't allow glucose to be absorbed and used for energy. So the best, and we often actually don't even realize that this is happening, you know, and it's the fat cells that are around our belly that are the worst.
And then kind of what's the correlation between insulin resistance and prediabetes?
So they both occur before you become a diabetic. So, and both of them are reversible too. When we think of prediabetes, it's not necessarily the insulin resistance, so the inability for the insulin to be utilized properly, but it's your blood sugar is higher. So your pancreas is constantly pumping out more insulin because it thinks there's all this sugar that needs to be put into the cells, and so it can wear out your pancreas, and so that can happen.
And then what are some of the risk factors that can make someone more prone to insulin resistance or prediabetes?
So a lot of the risk factors, you know, are things like being overweight or obese. If you're older, if you have a genetic predisposition, so meaning you have a parent, a brother, a sister, or somebody else with diabetes. Physical activity, again, glucose is used for energy. So if you're not burning that energy off, you're going to have those kind of symptoms. If you have things like high blood pressure and cholesterol, those are tied into that insulin resistance. A history of gestational diabetes, meaning that you were a diabetic or had to watch your blood sugars while you were pregnant. And just having polycystic ovary syndrome can also be a predisposition to being pre-diabetic or insulin resistance.
So they both share these risk factors, and that's one.
For the most part, yep, they do.
All right, and then what are some of the symptoms and how can it kind of be treated? Because I know you said they're reversible, and are they the same kind of treatments, or are they
So they are. We treat diabetes the same, and the biggest thing you can do is to lose weight. Now, these symptoms, so when you are insulin resistant, you typically won't have any symptoms, and these can occur 10 years before you become a diabetic. So definitely going in if you have the blood pressure issue and the other things, you want to talk to your provider. But if you're pre-diabetic, you might experience things like extreme thirst or hungry. You might have increased urination because you're drinking more. Tingling sensation in your hands and feet. Feeling more tired than usual. It may be frequent infections, and then high blood sugar levels. Now, with insulin resistance, one of the biggest symptoms that we notice are skin tags and dark patchy areas that can occur under your armpits and in your groin area. So if you notice those, you really could be in insulin resistance, and this is the time to reverse it. This is the time to take action and go talk to your provider.
Yes. And then what were some of those treatments that maybe?
So treatments would be medication management, weight loss. Through diet and exercise, you can reverse this.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning, giving us some more insight on both the similarities and differences between prediabetes and insulin resistance.
You're welcome.
Yep. And we'll have more news and weather coming up after the lottery and our break.